On the news tonight, Anambra State Governor Soludo felicitates with WAEC on its 71st anniversary. Mrs. Soludo celebrates Anambra women on Mother's Sunday. Gilbert polls, violence, apathy, vote buying recorded across Nigeria. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu accused of undermining judicial independence. Before the news in detail, here is a special message. Governor Chukwuma Soludo has come for a total turnaround maintenance of the Anambra State economy and promotion of core Igbo values. Let us give him maximum support for the task ahead. Good evening and welcome to the news tonight. My name is Maureen Stone Enijoke. Anambra State Governor Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo has felicitated with the West African Examination Council, WAEC, as it marks its 71st anniversary. The governor, represented by the Commissioner of Education, Professor Ngozi Chumaude, at the event which took place at WAEC headquarters, Nise, said that WAEC has become a household name, a tradition handed down from generation to generation, adding that it has been over 7 decades of excellence on the part of the agency. Governor Soludo said WAEC is a laudable initiative put in place to move academics in West Africa forward, while adding that the organization has never failed in this drive and appreciated them for holding forth these years. He further commended the head of the Nigerian National Office of the West African Examination Council, Mr. Patrick Ehidenman, for his stellar administration and the conduct of credible examinations in Nigeria, and appealed to WAEC to look into some of the laws and give them human face. Governor Soludo pointed out a situation where WAEC brings the full weight of the law to bear on the students caught in examination malpractice by closing down the entire school for an offense committed by a few students. Earlier, Mr. Uduakban, the branch controller, WAEC, Oka, in his address, stated that this is the first time since the outbreak of the coronavirus in 2020, the council is celebrating with stakeholders and friends of the council. He appreciated the overwhelming support of the council stakeholders, especially Governor Soludo, for his unwavering support for education and the fight against examination malpractice in the state. The 71st anniversary was marked with fun-filled activities, a debate competition between St. Patrick's College, Oka, and Loreto Special Science School, Adazinoko, formed the high points of the day. Anambra State Deputy Governor Dr. Onyekachukwu Ibezim has commended Ndimbauku for throwing their weight behind the All Progressives Alliance during the Saturday State House of Assembly election. The Deputy Governor gave the commendation on hearing discourse of ABGA party in his ward in Mbauku, Oka South local government area. He said that ABGA government has worked for Mbauku community and the entire state and will continue to ensure the equitable distribution of democracy dividends in the state. Government House correspondent Emmanuel Okonkwo filed the report.
Rating the State House of Assembly election in Mbuku as relatively seamless, Deputy Governor Ibezim noted that there is still much room for improvement in Nigeria's electoral system.
Democracy in Nigeria is still a teething process, and we hope to learn. I advise the INEC they should continue improving.
In various interviews, some stakeholders in the area, including the Managing Director of Anambra Indigenous and Herbal Medicine, Dr. Daniel Ekenejie, State Chairman, Road Transport Association of Nigeria, Comrade Chinedu Nwabueze, Chairman of Akabo Village in Buku, Mr. Odereze, and Mr. Chukunonso Dim, commended INEC for ensuring a hitch-free election exercise in the area and asked it to restore the electorate's confidence on the commission by making sure that the results of the election represent the will of the people.
They've done well to come out to exercise their rights. This is a very important election for the state, and so we've been telling people to come out irrespective of how they feel or what they think. By God's grace, it will end in praise.
So they try by maintaining the time factor, and people were conducting themselves. So I'm only advising INEC, but make sure that the vote is being counted in the presence of everybody that voted in every polling unit, and as well as transmit that result through their server.
Others, Sir Angus Ibezim, Dr. Okechi Ebune, commended Nigerians on their recent level of political enlightenment and efforts towards enthronement of good governance, and expressed hope that the confidence Nigerians repose in INEC will not be in vain. Abga faithful in Mbuku later converged at the Deputy Governor's house to celebrate. From Mbuku in Awka South local government area, I am Emmanuel Okonkwo reporting for ABS News.
In celebration of Mother's Sunday, which is observed across churches today, Anambra Governor's wife, Mrs. Monya Soludo, has explained that mothers form the nucleus of humanity and must always be celebrated. The governor's wife, who stated this in Awka in a statement to mark the annual fixture, said that mothers deserve to be celebrated every day because of the immeasurable roles they play in family and societal success. She also noted that the annual occasion should not only remind everyone of the essence of motherhood, but must be seen as a period to dissect vast issues that affect the existence of women and the girl child, including rising cases of gender-based violence and abuses. Mrs. Soludo, who re-echoed the importance of women in politics, said that the time is ripe enough for them to get more involved in and sit at a round table where issues that concern their political future are discussed. She further urged mothers to use the occasion to think and discuss how they can work better on themselves, acquiring basic skills and taking courses in vocations that could help them become more valuable and financially independent, while wishing all mothers, especially those living in Anambra State, a fruitful Mother's Sunday celebration. Mrs. Soludo assured them that her husband's administration is taking issues that affect women, children, and girls very seriously. Special services were held in all the Anglican churches nationwide to celebrate the 2023 Mother's Sunday. The service, which put the women in a joyous mood, saw them participating in the activities of the day, starting from pastors and people's warding, prayer conductors, Bible reading, and many others. Correspondent Amaka Chibuzo Okoye has the details.
Gorgeously dressed with different Anglican uniforms according to their categories in the church, thanking God for the grace shown them to see this auspicious day of their life. In a sermon, the Archbishop, Ecclesiastical Province of the Niger, and Bishop of Awka Diocese, Most Reverend Alexander Ibezim, who congratulated the mothers on this year's celebration, recalled the enormous roles and contributions of mothers in their families and society, and charged them to live up to the responsibilities of upholding the true virtues of motherhood and child upbringing.
I know that there are seasons in life. This season will pass away in Nigeria. Okay, and when it passes away, the mothers will have a testimony to share. So they should stand firm. The Bible said that they that put their trust in the Lord, they shall be like Mount Zion that shall not be moved. So,
in our address, we centered on the theme of the 2023 Mother's Sunday, you shall eat the fruit of your labor. The President, Mothers Union, Women's Guild, Girls Guild, and Young Wives Fellowship, Province of the Niger, and Diocese of Awka, Mrs. Choma Ibezim, reminded mothers that there are better rewards coming for their labor. She urged mothers who have labored for their husbands, children, families, and the church never to give up or accept defeat for any reason, reassuring them that under God they shall eat the fruits of their labor.
From Psalm 128 verse 2, it is the will of God that when a woman brings a child into the world and nurtures the child, and the child becomes whom God wants him or her to be, it is the will of God that the woman will enjoy the fruit of her labor.
The Archdeacon, Awka Archdeaconry, and Vicar of All Saints Church, Amenyi, Venerable David Ezobi, described mothers as unique people in the society who train and nurture their children to feed the nation, challenging them to be focused, dedicated, and pray fervently. In their separate speeches, the Vice President, Mothers Union, Awka Archdeaconry, Mrs. Ifoma Ezobi, and her Enugu Agidi counterpart, Mrs. Ebelechukwu Emendo, thank God for the gift of mothers motherhood, stating that there are special species with enormous task, advising mothers to live out the good virtues embedded in them by God. The wife of the resident priest, St. Philip's Church, Umuodu Opuno, Mrs. Blessing Onochie, and the chairperson, local organizing committee of the 2023 Mothering Sunday of the church, Mrs. Comfort Orakwelo, advised mothers to raise and nurture their children in godly ways, respect their husbands, and assist in building a God-fearing homes. Drama depicting the roles of women in the families and dance at different stages of the service featured at the event. Amaka Chibuzo Okoye, ABS News.
The Catholic Bishop of Awka Diocese, Most Reverend Paulinus Ezokafo, has adjudged yesterday's State House of Assembly election conducted by the Independent National Electoral Commission as peaceful. Correspondent Chukwemeka Modelim reports that Most Reverend Ezokafo disclosed this while commenting on the general conduct of the election. His report.
Catholic prelate observed that the election was peaceful in Opuno, where he voted, and devoid of violence, as the voters were orderly, while election materials, including beavers, worked very well. Most Reverend Ezokafo, however, frowned at the low turnout of voters, which he observed was caused by the result of the February 25th presidential election released by INEC, which did not meet people's expectation. He charged candidates who will emerge in the March 18 State House of Assembly election to enact quality laws that will uplift the living standards of the people and guarantee sustainable development of the state.
By God's grace, we find ourselves winners. It's very important when we get over there, we'll be able to represent the people well. Because everybody has placed their destiny to our hands, their destiny as a state. So I wish them well, and let them not think that those who didn't succeed are not good enough.
From Opuno, Chukwemeka Modelim, ABS News.
And still to come on the news, Giba polls, violence, apathy, vote buying recorded across Nigeria. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu accused of undermining judicial independence. Here is a special message. Governor Chukwuma Soludo has come for a total turnaround maintenance of the Anambra State economy and promotion of core Igbo values. Let us give him maximum support for the task ahead.
Breakfast. Get smart to a great day. How do I know? Because my daddy goes to his work feeling good and always with a smile. Mommy is always filled with confidence. My sister is always in tune. And for me, learning new things becomes absolute fun. That's because all day and every day, the peak goes on.
Start your day with a Peak Protect breakfast. Peak. Reach for your peak.
Ovaltine 3-in-1. It has great taste.
Big day ahead.
Yummy, yummy, full of nourishment and vitality. To bodies and shop like soya. Ovaltine 3-in-1. 3-in-1. Ovaltine 3-in-1.
For your young mama.
New Ovaltine 3-in-1. Smart choice.
Welcome back. Unlike the last presidential and National Assembly polls, where voters turned out en masse and waited for the INEC officials to arrive, the officials yesterday set up their facilities and waited for the voters to come out. Also opposed to the February 25 polls were anxious eligible voters queued at various polling units for accreditation and voting. The governorship and state assembly election did not have a queue of anxious voters. Reports observed that despite the massive deployment of security agencies in many strategic locations, there were widespread violence in many states of the Federation. The conspicuous presence of officers of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, was also noticed in some of the polling units visited across the nation. Findings shows that apart from the low turnout, many of the voters exhibited low morale, even as they were unsure if their votes would actually count. Tens of thousands of Israelis have marched again in nationwide protests against the government's plan to curb Supreme Court powers. This is the 11th week of mass demonstrations as opponents of the reforms accuse right-wing Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of undermining judicial independence. Mr. Netanyahu, who is on trial on corruption charges, says his aim is to restore a balance of power between the government and Israel's top court. The escalating protests have impacted on the economy and prompted a threat by some military reservists to defy call-up orders. The Super Eagles' preparation for the upcoming African Cup of Nations qualifier against Guinea-Bissau has suffered a major setback with the duo of goalkeeper Francis Uzoho and defender Calvin Bassey at risk of missing second leg of the qualifier. The two players may miss the second leg match against Guinea-Bissau should they be booked in the first leg tie in Abuja in the last game against Sierra Leone in Abuja. Bassey received a yellow card in the 82nd minute in the previous game against Sierra Leone, and 4 minutes later, Uzoho also picked up a yellow card. According to Article 421 of the regulations of the Africa Cup of Nations, a player who receives 2 warning cards in the series will be automatically suspended from the following match. The two players featured prominently on the list of invited players released by coach Josep Peseiro. Nigeria will host the first leg at MKO Abiola Stadium before traveling to Guinea-Bissau for the second leg a few days later. Remember, you can follow ABS from any part of the world by logging onto our Facebook, by liking our Facebook page at ABS Radio Television Oka, subscribe to our YouTube page at ABS Television Oka, follow us on Instagram at ABS Radio TV. Log on to our website, www.absradiotv.com. And now a recap of the main points before we go. Anambra State Governor has felicitated with WAEC on its 71st anniversary. Mrs. Soludo has celebrated Anambra women on Madron Sunday. Giver polls, violence, apathy, vote buying have been recorded across Nigeria. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu has been accused of undermining judicial independence. And here is a special message. Governor Chukwuma Soludo has come for a total turnaround maintenance of the Anambra State economy and promotion of core Igbo values. Let us give him maximum support for the task ahead. And that's it on the news for tonight. Thank you so very much for watching. My name is Maureen Stone Enujoke, and this is saying a happy Mother's Day to all the women of the Anglican extraction and also to all mothers and intending mothers. Good night and stay blessed.
Thank God, the Soludo administration has saved us from illegal activities.